WMC Memphis, WMFS HD2 Bartlett Memphis, part of the Memphis Sports Network with 92.9 FM ESPN, ESPN 790 AM.
Watch the sunrise, new day's dawning, and it's calling you and me, where the mighty Mississippi flows by Memphis, Tennessee. We've got woodlands, fields, and water. Hey, there is no better way. You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Make some time, take the family, ask a friend, but don't delay. Listen up and learn about it all. Outdoors with Larry Ray. Listen up and learn about it all. Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Gaston's White River Resort, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Barton Power Sports. Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790. Rolled into our 16th year on the air, and great show today. It's all jam-packed with fishing talk, which I know that my co-host here, Ron Wong, has done. He's caught a few fish in his career.
Yes, one or two.
One or two. On one cast. That's you've caught two on one cast.
But you know
before.
what? There's a couple of baits that are on the market right now
that you like to talk about.
That you can catch a couple of fish at one time on, and this particular company, I have to tell you that we're getting ready to talk about.
Yes.
My fondest memory is back in the late 1950s.
I'm glad you put 19 on there so you didn't think it was 1850. So
my dad, who taught me how to fish
back
in the 50s, he was telling me about a new bait that was coming out that was being made out of balsa wood coming from Finland.
That's right. Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to go get me one of those. He went and bought one, and he started using it, and he would not, and he could only afford one at the time.
Yeah.
And he caught so many fish on it, it was unbelievable. And as I grew up and was able to get my hands on some, it's been a bait that I have caught multiple times, 2 fish at a time. But Rapala has been around for a long time, and what a bait company they are.
Well, we got 2 guys on the line with us right now that are very familiar with Rapala, and I got to admit, Ron, I am very familiar that I have one of my cherished memorabilias is one of the Rapala lures autographed by the man who made it in Finland.
Really?
Yes, they sent it to me.
I'm jealous. Do you want to part with it?
It'll be when the Lord calls me home. It'll be sitting right there on top of my casket. You know, 'cause if you want to pick it up and use it, go ahead. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, but we got one guy on the show that you folks out there have known about, and we've had him on many times. One of our favorite guys. That's Defoe. Good morning, Ott.
Good morning. How you guys
Hey,
doing?
we're doing good over here on the other side of the state, and we got to throw in somebody from up north to keep us straight. So
yeah,
but we got to be nice to him because he might send us some walleye fillets.
This guy likes fish with teeth. You know what? I mean, he could go.
I love them fish with teeth, well, like walleye.
They got them in the Amazon too. You know, I mean, that's not the kind we're talking about. No. Hey, we got on with us also Mark Fisher. Both of these guys are really representative of Rapala. And good morning, Mark.
Good morning, guys. How's everyone?
All right. Now, Ott, we know you're in East Tennessee this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now,
Yeah,
Mark,
that's right.
Mark, where are you right now?
I'm up in Minnesota, up in the Twin Cities.
There you
Minneapolis, St. Paul area.
Okay. And
well, tell my buddy Bill Lunn I said hello up there. He's
Will
up there
do.
now.
Well, I know that, Mark, I've heard your name before, and I've had a lot of folks tell me about you. And I know that you're well familiar with our good friends, Al and Ron Linder, who I think they started when I got in journalism. Of course, my good friend Ron Shara up there in Minneapolis, a great outdoor writer. But let's talk a little bit about what's new with Rapala, and let's talk to Ott first about the benefits of using these lures. And Ron, you jump right in on this because they've got some new scatter wrap shad deep, and I had to say that slow because I might come out with the wrong thing, But
hey, it's a bait with a bad attitude.
Okay, tell us about that, Ott. What it means in your arsenal, so to speak.
Yeah, in the original scatter wrap lineup, we had the shad, the crank, the minnow, and the countdown. And the original shad was like a number 7 body and would run about 5-6 foot deep on the cast. But now with the deep model, we've got one that'll run 8 to 10 foot deep.
Oh wow!
On a standard cast, but it's got that scatter wrap action that no other bait out there on the market has.
Well, I'm going to have to get my hands on some of those.
Yeah, I think
absolutely. It gives it a bait or an action to that bait that you really can't touch with anything else. And now we've got it in a depth range that we didn't have before. With that, a shad wrap has always been one of my all-time favorite baits. The first 5-pound bass I ever caught and the first 7-pound bass I ever caught were on a shad wrap. So having that shad wrap body and a lot of that shad wrap action, but adding the scatter wrap lip to it really makes it something special. And it just fits another place in the tackle box to be able to get it down there in that little bit deeper depth range. Especially for me, it fits that time when the water's a little bit clearer.
Yeah,
those fish are holding out a little bit deeper, in that kind of range, and it's just a total different bait from everything else that dives to that depth range.
And Mark, I know that from where you are up there, a lot of our folks, believe it or not, really love to head north and to fish. In fact, one of my best friends is up there in Wisconsin, is Pat Calberton, who's Captain Pat, that's out there on one of the Great Lakes. And my big boss here at the radio stations, he's heading to Canada next week to do some of the fishing up there. And we've told him what to take. And Ron's even got a rod and reel here, but I've told him what kind of lures to take. And you don't need to leave home without one of these if you're heading your way, right?
That's right. The interesting part, and Ott truly is an authority on a variety of different types of lures, but he really understands, and I hope I'm not echoing too much, but what balsa really means in delivering action. Sometimes you can look at a bait and you realize that it's the lip that generates the action to the body, and then sometimes you look at the body and you have to develop a lip to fit that body and see what you can get out of it. And that was the birthplace of the whole scatter wrap phenomenon.
Yeah.
And understanding the needs of anglers all around the world, such as Ott, doing the mid-depth fishing, and the action that you trust in a shad wrap. Well, you give it a little extra hunt and a little extra swing to left and right, and it's amazing how just changing up a lip on the same old body brings a bait completely around.
Well, Ron, you look at that, and how do you guys come up with you're sitting around and you're drinking a cup of coffee or something, say, hey, we need to do something with that lip. That a lot of people have told me about my radio show many years. That guy needs to do something with his lip.
Sometimes it's not coffee in those cups, though, when they're determined.
Okay.
No, I don't let it all out.
Let's just move on. Ott, let's move on. Okay.
Hey, I got a question for Ott. Ott, your next BASS Elite is coming up at Lake Texhoma.
Yes.
How does
That's
that
right.
set up for you?
Yeah.
You're kind of right now you're in the AOY on the Elite Series and qualifying for the Classic. you've got to have a couple of decent tournaments coming up to maintain your place, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. This season we added another event this year, like we did either last year or the year before. So we actually have 10 points events this year, 9 regular full field events, and then a 10th AOI championship that's up there in Mark's neck of the woods on the last lake. But we have 10 points events this year, and we've only had 5 so far. So we're truly only halfway
through. Yeah.
That I don't even know. Maybe mathematically, the guys that are from 80th or 90th down are locked out of it, but I don't even know that that's the case at this point. And nobody, I don't feel like anybody in the top 10 is locked in either. So it's we're still so early in the year. We've got so many events left to fish that I almost don't even care what the points are at this point.
You just looking for
fish my way back up.
Well, yeah, it looks like you're, I think, in 32nd place right now, AOY, which is, a good position. It's better being there than it is any lower, for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be where I am, but I'm certainly not resting on it in any way.
No.
Right.
No.
For both of you guys, Rapala, they make baits that cover the whole water spectrum almost. You talk about all the way from the top waters, like the scatter wraps, and then all the way down to the DT series, the Dive 2 series. Pretty well covers the whole water column for you guys, both of you. Now, Mark, you're fishing for walleyes and things like that, and not, of course, everybody knows you're a bass fisherman. But how does that work out for you guys?
I'll say that first. The great thing about, and we're mostly talking about Rapala here, but see what Rapala owns a lot of other brands and Terminators.
Yeah,
a brand that I'm a part of in a big way. And BMC as well. So it's with Rapala. Yeah, as far as hard baits, man, it's got everything you really need as a bass angler. From top water baits to square bill crankbaits, the deep diving crankbaits, mid depth stuff, and then you switch over to a brand like Terminator, and we've got spinner baits and jigs, football jigs. Got the new walking frog we've got out.
That walking frog
coming out, and a new popping frog coming out of ICAST this year. That's been a key player for several of us. So, it really does. It makes it nice because you can have one sponsor that can cover so many of your bases for you. And just really makes it great on my end, being a professional angler, to have a sponsor that's got so many great baits.
Hey, don't you love to go to the mailbox?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to be in that mailbox.
That's exactly right.
You can't know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's like Christmas in July when Ott goes to the mailbox. He's got a Terminator.
April, May, all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And Mark, how about your answer on that?
Well, basically, when you're, we're a company deeply, enthralled with anglers all over the world.
Yes, you are.
And I think one of the most interesting variables with that is that we develop a bait for over in Finland or the Netherlands to catch pike or perch, and something else crosses over for barramundi in Australia, and I think that's probably one of the most fascinating things. But triggering, I think, is what everything's about, and guys such as Ott and and so many other guys that we're privileged to work with. It's those little things that make the big difference, and sometimes it's just the oddest things that trigger fish to bite.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we just try to, our focus is keeping things simple as possible and not a lot of bells and whistles, but really getting to basics and fundamentals. It's like watching a good baseball team play a good game. It always gets back to fundamentals and the basics, and I think that's pretty much a measure for us. We try to follow that same logic.
Well, I know that you're in Minnesota. That's not been the logic for baseball this year. I'm sorry to say for you, Mark. So,
you don't have to tell me.
Okay.
But,
It's
by
hard.
the way, Mark, up in Minnesota, you guys are going to have one heck of a receiver on that Vikings team, Laquan Treadwell.
Well, let's don't get into Ole Miss.
Remember that name. Remember that name.
I doesn't want to talk about Ole Miss football. Okay, all right. Now, but I will say,
that's actually one topic that I have no.
Thank you, Ott. Okay, all right. Hey, I want to say one thing before we let you guys go, and I appreciate both you guys being on here. Our next segment involves the St. Jude Bass Classic. 44 years it's been here in the Mid-South, and it'll roll out another one on tomorrow. And I know, Mark, the way I understand it, you've been involved in that Dick Healy St. Jude Children's Research Hospital spring tournament up on the Mississippi River, hadn't you?
That's right. In fact, I was in on the very original year that the tournament got put together. Dick Hiley was a great supporter of the event for years, and Dick passed away. The name got hung on the event. It was perfect.
Yes.
And forever has been one of the most standout events that we have in Minnesota. People basically look at the calendar and play the game with their heart.
Well,
it's a great event.
So there you go. From Minnesota, a tie-in to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital right here in Memphis, Tennessee. And on tomorrow, the 44th annual St. Jude Bass Classic will be held down at Sardis Lake. Hey, Ott, thank you, buddy. Mark, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Larry.
Always good to talk to you guys. And we know how to get in touch with Ott. Now we know Mark. Okay.
All right, boys.
I will
take care. I'd be good now.
Yeah, and no matter whether you call it Rapala or Rapala, as long as you buy it. That's what this guy in Finland told me. Okay. See you guys.
I will see you at Bass Fest.
All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. We'll be right back and again talk St. Jude Bass Classic.
You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry.